It is an absolute pleasure to welcome author Tamsin Wood to our new series of author interviews. Welcome, Tamsin, who's based in Staffordshire in the UK. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your book, Thingamy Doodah Wotsit, with teachers here in the UK. I absolutely love that name. I could say it over and over again. Thingamy Doodah Wotsit. Love it. Before we get stuck into your book, tell us a bit more about yourself as a children's writer. How did you become an author of children's books?
I've loved writing ever since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. But in 2015, I wrote a rhyming storybook to raise money for a friend of mine whose little girl was very ill. And I wanted to do something of my own to help. And because I love writing so much, that seemed just like the perfect way to help. And the book was called Fairy Boots. And I enjoyed doing it so much. I thought, why am I not doing this for a living? I had a carpe diem moment, seize the day, and quit everything else I was doing apart from being a mum. And I've been writing ever since.
Wow, that is amazing and such an inspirational start as well. I've always spoken about writing with a purpose, and certainly purposes are motivational, aren't they?
They are.
So I would love it if you could give us a bit of a kind of summary of what is your book about? What is this book, Thingamy Doodah Wotsit? What's it about?
Here is Thingamy Doodah Wotsit right here. Now, Thingamy Doodah Wotsit is the imaginary friend of a little boy called Charlie. And one day he gets rather a shock when his imaginary friend becomes rather more real and shows up at his front door. And he's come to stay, and it's all about the ensuing chaos which follows the arrival of Charlie's imaginary friend.
That sounds like a fascinating story. An imaginary friend that becomes real. I wish that happened to me when I was a child, because I also had an imaginary friend that followed me everywhere. But that friend would have been quite mischievous. So I wonder if this one is quite mischievous.
Yes.
So the question I have to ask is, what age group would you say your book is most appropriate for?
I think that it's very appropriate for very early readers, children who are just starting out on their literary journey, with a bit of help from mums, dads, carers, and friends to read to them. And then for Key Stage 2 children, I should think they would be able to fairly confidently read by themselves and enjoy the book on their own.
Fantastic. So have you written any other books as a children's writer?
I have. I've published a dozen self-published books. I've been writing ever since. I have books. I have a set of 2, which is based on fairies. There's 2 books with 4 stories each, and they each contain rhyming storybooks. All of my storybooks rhyme. I don't seem to be able to write any other way. And they all contain life lessons. It's very important to me when I write that I teach something within my stories, and all of my stories contain themes: being kind, being responsible, telling the truth, being a good friend, and being brave. And I think these are all things that we really need to educate children. And I wanted to do that in a really fun way, which would be less like having a lecture and more having fun and learning as we have that fun. So that was kind of the idea behind all of the books.
Wonderful. So I'm gathering from that that there are some solid PSHE links there in terms of developing social skills, emotional skills as children grow. That is always a very good addition to the reading curriculum. Books that teach, but teach in a way that hooks and engages readers are always a positive. So as you know, reading for pleasure is the main focus when it comes to rising attainment across the national curriculum. So not just in reading. Reading for pleasure has an impact on all subjects across the board. And it's a very significant part of the national curriculum. However, we as teachers also have to ensure that children have acquired reading skills that they can then pull across a variety of texts. What would you say would be the most significant contribution to the development of reading skills that your books will bring to the classroom setting?
Obviously, as I said, I rhyme everything. So hopefully the children will learn firsthand about rhyming, about meter and rhythm, but also they'll have their very early first grasp of onomatopoeia. I love that word. I couldn't spell it for years, but I love what it means. And I love that feeling of having sounds that sound like they are. And I also love personification. I love making things sound like something different. And I think that's another valuable writing skill that we can teach children. So I try and put all of those things and lots of really yummy, scrumptious adjectives and lovely descriptive words into my work that give kids a much wider vocabulary than they would have in some other more fact-based books.
Fantastic, fantastic. And straight away, I am hearing the curriculum linked to writing. Certainly, a part of developing our literate children is developing readers who then become writers. And if they can be inspired by a quality model text, such as that in your book, straight away they have got that living example that they can pull across and develop in their own writing, I think would be something that's quite good quality for teachers to pursue. So thank you so much for telling us that. And I'm going to hand over to you now for you to actually share an extract of your book, Thingamy Doodah Wotsit. Do you see? I really do like to say it. Okay, so I'm going to hand over to you now while you read an extract.
He dug big holes all over the garden and chewed all of the plants and the flowers before munching the post and the papers. As poor Charlie cried, "Those aren't ours." Wotsit hid Charlie's daddy's pyjamas. You can bet that he wasn't impressed, for it caused quite a ruckus at bedtime when the family were getting undressed.
Brilliant.
He wrote all over Charlie's maths homework and hid all of his favourite toys. Then he'd sing in the shower till midnight. How the neighbours detested the noise. He set fire to Granny's new carpet and attempted to launder the cat. He put lots of rude photos on Facebook and told Mummy her bottom looked fat.
Oh my goodness.
He made smells in the toilets at restaurants. Charlie promised his mum, "It's not me." Then he'd wait till they got stuck in traffic and decide that he needed a wee. Soon the family was fed up of Wotsit, so they sent him to live at the dump, where he's out of the way, he can make mess all day, and he doesn't give people the hump.
Brilliant.
That's just a little sneak peek of Thingamy Doodah Wotsit. He's a very naughty chap.
I absolutely love it. It's really, really good. And just as I imagined, mischievous he is indeed. Thank you so much, Tamsin, for sharing your wonderful book with teachers. And it's always a pleasure to hear the author's voice behind the children's books. Finally, can you just share with us where your book can be purchased?
Can. My website is www.oncanglefordnock.co.uk, and there are links to all of my books in my Amazon store on my website. So go take a look and enjoy.
We look forward to hearing more about your books as your writing journey continues. I will be placing links to Thingamy Doodah Wotsit in this video. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining ReadMaster for UK Teachers, home of the author's voice.